Should we blow the lid off Libya? Hillary Clinton says, quote, nothing is off the table, end quote. And the Pentagon confirms the U.S. is, quote, repositioning naval and air forces to prepare for any option with Libya, where Gaddafi is currently hanging on by his manicured fingertips. Yet Fox News has learned that the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise is heading towards Libya, and most likely U.S. forces would be asked to provide humanitarian relief. So, we aren't ruling out the military option, but should we? Peter Beinart at the Daily Beast, whatever that is, makes the case for sitting on our hands by looking at lessons from the Cold War, writing, quote, that as an economically vibrant democracy facing an economically destitute tyranny, the U.S. could afford to wait. Meanwhile, Niall Gardner, what a British name, writes in the Telegraph, Niall Gardner, in the Telegraph, that President Obama's timid foreign policy is an embarrassment, saying, quote, this administration has also been all too willing to sacrifice U.S. leadership in deference to supranational institutions such as the UN, whose track record in standing up to dictatorships has been virtually non-existent. Anyway, the situation in Libya raises the question, can you change a tire while driving? The sad part about that is I can't even change a tire when the car is like sedentary on a level road. I can't. These guys are doing it while the car is moving. I can't.
I don't understand why they were covering their faces. I'd be proud of that skill. I get a promotion with that skill.
Because they're driving to a terrorist incident.
Mike, why do you always have to profile people who wear terrorist disguises?
Sorry. What was that all about?
Stop being
terrible.
accurate.
While you're talking, Baker, let's say you're president. What would you do right now? Like if you faced with Libya?
Well, I would stop being feckless. That would be the first thing I would do if I were president.
More feck.
Yeah, I would institute more feck. And I basically, you know, there's a couple of things I would do. Libya, at this point, you know, we've kind of played our mediocre hand, right? And so what we're going to end up with in Libya, at some point, someone's going to cap Gaddafi in his inner circle, and you're going to get this infighting amongst the colonels and generals over who gets to be top dog now. So all those good Libyans who are thinking that they're going to emerge from this with some form of democracy, they're going to emerge with a military junta with another strong man in progress. What I would have done more importantly on another country with Iran is as soon as Egypt had turned and we'd seen the developments there, we would have had a national speech. We would have Obama come out on the networks and talk about what was going on in Iran and say, you know, look at this. All we want is the same for the people of Iran, and push that as if it was going to happen.
It's an interesting point. Jonah, I read, I think it was a tweet, a Stephen Hayes tweet that said that Wolf Blitzer said Obama officials consider what they did with Iran a mistake, and that they're trying to correct it now. Do you see that happening?
Well, I agree entirely it was a mistake, but we're talking about 2009. That was the moment when they were really tottering.
Back in June.
And Obama could have been perfectly consistent with his original Cairo speech. He could have been the democracy promoter around the world without firing a shot, and he blew it, and they know it inside the administration that they blew it. And now we've seen, ever since Tunisia, they're just playing catch-up. They're always at least one beat behind.
Greg, you'll rarely hear me say this, but I do commend Hillary Clinton for saying that nothing's off the table, and I think that she should have stepped up to the plate instead of Obama this time. He stuck his nose in Egypt, and now we need to have Hillary. But in essence, should we be standing forth, being leader of the free world and correcting this problem?
Well,
I think that Libya should.
We have nothing to lose in terms of Libya or in terms of Iran. And, I mean, to say that we're handing this over to the UN, the Security Council is debating internally, as strange as it is, whether to impose sanctions on Gaddafi at this point. And the Chinese are blocking it because they're worried about this whole war crimes issue. Because the Chinese are smart enough to realize, 30,000-foot view here, down the road, it's China.
Look, we need to get rid of the UN.
Bill, last word. You think staying back and just observing it is the way to go?
Absolutely. And it's hard. And you know why we know this? Because Hillary Clinton has lately, for lack of a better word, been looking not good. And I'll tell you something, what is good for you is staying on the sidelines and mocking her. Niles Gardner has never looked better, Greg.
Yes.
His pores are glowing.
He's fantastic.
It is, him lambasting Hillary like that, it's better than moisturizer.
Can I just point out something? We didn't, when we were talking about the Oscars, we didn't get a chance to mention Scarlett Johansson.
She looked fantastic. But Mila Kunis, amazing. Why did you bring this up in the middle of this segment? Now I can't think about anything with Mila Kunis. Maybe we'll take a break now. Yeah, so do you have a comment on the show? Email us. It's redeye@foxnews.com. And to leave a voicemail, my direct line, call 212-462-5050. Especially you, Mila. Still to come, the halftime report from TV's Andy Levy. Jerk.
Tonight's halftime report is sponsored by Catapult, that ancient military device used to hurl various objects such as large stones or spears over a great distance. Thanks, Catapult.
Welcome back. Let's find out if we've got anything wrong so far. For that, we go to TV's Andy Levy. So, Andy, I'm absolutely outraged that Radiohead's new album, The King of Limbs, did not win Best Picture at the Oscars. How about you?
Well, Greg, a British king did win, and I feel like by giving the Best Picture award to the King's Speech, the Academy was coming as close as it could to giving the statue to the King of Limbs, which, after all, isn't a movie and wasn't nominated. But I think it's clear what message the voters were sending. I mean, there's no other good reason why the King's Speech would have won.
I think you make good sense, but you're still a jerk.
I know.
Yes.
You retiring that now?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
No?
No, we're not.
All right, we'll bring it back tomorrow. Oscars. Greg, you said this was one of the least watched Oscars since the late 1700s.
Right.
Yeah, I forget. What were some of the Best Picture nominees back in the late 1700s?
Ye Complicated? Remember that one?
Sure.
That was really good.
Sure.
What was that? One Flew Over Ye's Cuckoo's Nest? Remember that one?
Yeah.
Ye Exorcist?
Yeah.
How many of these can I do?
I don't know.
All of them. The old social oral legend?
Yes.
Yeah.
And who could forget ye old Jaws?
Oh,
that was
absolutely,
a frightening one.
Yes.
Yeah. Edward Maybridge's Sally Gardner at the Gallup, which is generally considered to be the precursor to motion pictures, didn't come out till 1878.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there were movies back in 1878.
They were ish.
Oh, okay.
I believe Lumiere was one of the precursors in that field, correct, Andy?
Absolutely, but Maybridge was first.
What year was the first broadcast for the Oscars, Andy?
It was 83 years ago.
He's right.
But he's not doing the math because he cannot.
Oh, God, no. Math.
83 years ago.
Angela, you said it was nice to see the young actors there, and I agree. I'm all for youth and for it not being Billy Crystal or Whoopi Goldberg. But I think Jonah's right, and they didn't get the joke. Or more to the point, I think they were smart enough to realize fairly early on.
Me.
Well, let me finish.
Are you being
let me finish.
Let me finish. Usually you want to argue with me.
Nice to you now.
I would like to finish my point and then give you a chance to respond.
You know, because see, I'm not expecting the nice Andy. You know, you have a split personality every time you come hard on me, so I'm ready for you. What?
Well, I was in the middle of saying something.
I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Oh, you'll let me finish? On my show? Really?
Hey, it might be mine soon. You never know. You never know. Watch it look well. It might be mine soon.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Jonah, I think your point about Franco and Hathaway being young people playing old people playing young people is a good one. I think was that the Boston Globe? I think when you wrote, you said that's where you gave credit to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it gets to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? Which is the writing.
Sure, the writing was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're sitting in a van with James Franco smoking up a bong, your writing is going to suffer. And I think that's where they were writing that.
Well, I'll tell you something.
See,
The fault, Andy brought this up earlier today. The fault is not with Franco as much as it is the writing, which is the one and only Bruce Vilanch. And
Right.
he may have been in a van, but he was not smoking a bong.
Well, that's the point. I think someone at the Academy needs to thank Bruce Vilanch for his years of service,
Yes.
give him a gold watch,
Yes.
and tell him, that's it.
Is he still doing the Oscars?
Franco tweeted a picture, I think that was Vilanch backstage.
Well, Andy,
So,
let me
yeah.
ask you something. Was he wearing a delightfully witty novelty T-shirt?
He was doing that. He was also leaving, he was recording a new outgoing message on his answering machine.
I'm going to call him right away. I can't wait to hear it.
Is James Franco related to the Spanish dictator?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
No,
thank
he is still dead, though.
Excellent. Which
That's
one?
good.
By the way, I don't think Colin Firth he's being rewarded for a fake stutter.
By the way, that movie,
That's not cool.
I got it. I can't reiterate it enough. The most overrated movie I've ever seen.
But you know what? The thing in the
hard on
movie is, it was the main purpose was to believe in yourself. And I think a lot of people took that when you have a dream.
Oh, please,
to believe
Angela,
in
pipe
yourself.
it.
The first
That is
I
so
am
not
not-
true.
I'm not going to pipe it. I'm not going to do that.
That's
okay?
why I was
No,
against
it's
the
a-
movie.
it's
One
a-
should not believe in oneself.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point because it's a fair point because you really felt bad for the poor king coming from such a low place in life.
Well, everybody in his
No.
family made
Yeah.
fun of him, and this guy gave him the strength.
But it was also-
to
I
believe
know
in
the poor
himself.
guy didn't have to work a day in his life. He
But
was
you know,
royalty.
rich people have problems too, Andy.
No, absolutely. I felt really, really bad for the royal guy.
Andy, he may be the largest landowner in all of the United Kingdom, but
Yeah.
was he loved?
Yes, was he loved?
He was loved by the Nazis for a
Yes.
little bit.
They kind of marginalized that a little bit in the
Yeah.
movie, didn't they?
Yeah.
For all.
My sources are telling me the Academy is cooperating with the government, and a DVD of Sunday Night Show is arrived in Gitmo this morning.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, good.
Gregolog from Forum Writer complains his parents have Fox Geezer syndrome. I love that he writes, at least 8 different people told him they'd experienced this.
Yes, that was his scientific poll.
That means it could be 9, Greg.
Yes,
It could
yes.
be. It could be 9 people.
Could also be 7, though, if you think of plus or minus an error
Yeah.
margin of
No,
1.
Mike, he said at least, not plus or minus. Come on.
Is
If
that
it's
ma-
7,
that's
if it's 7
mathematics, isn't
people,
it?
it's not a problem. Once
Yeah.
if you've hit at least 8, something's going on.
Look at this, Angela. See, I'm dealing with the nasty Andy.
Andy,
I know.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I know. Hey, Mike, when you put a couple of rounds into the freezer,
Yeah.
who was in it?
Yeah. I don't have to answer that question, do I? Or
Is that
do
a,
I?
Is that a sources and methods thing?
It is. Yeah.
It always is with you, isn't it? Yeah.
But I don't recommend people doing that at home either. Don't.
Do it in the office.
Yeah,
Take it out in the
exactly.
field somewhere and give it a go. Make sure there's a hill behind it. Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's true.
Libya, Angela, I agree with you in commending Hillary for saying nothing is on the table, and I think Hillary's actually done a pretty good job. I think you said she should be stepping up, not President Obama?
She should right now. I mean, I think that President Obama should stay back and let's just see what happens. I think he's been out there. Wait, Andy, you and I are having a very decent conversation. I love this.
Well, it's because you didn't interrupt me.
Oh, so see, if I talk over you, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
Actually, we all have a problem when you talk over him.
Well, I don't care about y'all. See, I care about Andy because, see, he knows how to argue with me. He's the only one that can debate me well.
Think how good that conversation would have been if you hadn't interrupted that conversation to point out
But
how
I
good
like interrupting people. I like that. I get off on that, okay?
This is what drives me nuts. Is
It makes
instead of
me
answering the
happy.
question,
If you talked
Oh, jeez.
if you talked under Andy, then this would be showtime.
Peter Beinert's maybe missing like a middle ground, a kind of a Reagan-esque middle ground between, doing nothing in the face of all this and no one's saying we need to send in our military, but he's acting as if Reagan had nothing to do with hastening the end of the Cold War.
Yeah, no, look, Peter's a very good old friend of mine. I've been debating him on college campuses for 10 years now almost.
just
And,
on the campus, just hanging out.
Just on the campus, yeah. In the quad, playing
Brown
frisbee.
bagging it on a bench.
Trolling for chicks. Let's debate.
Like waiting for Godot just by a tree.
You know, Peter used to have this ability to be this great liberal moralizer about liberal internationalism, doing the right thing around
Right.
the world, saving lives. He was a big supporter of the war, of ending the war in Kosovo and all the rest. And now he just seems to have abandoned all of that so he could score some really silly debating points.
He also seemed to have forgot the point that we won the Cold War and the Soviets collapsed because Reagan stepped it up.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
right,
He's acting as if we just sat back and waited for it to happen, and I feel like Reagan at the very least helped to hasten that.
Right, and the Cold War was
absolutely,
often hot.
absolutely.
You know, Vietnam, Korea.
Sean, I'm a little out of my league here, but I'll debate you on one thing. He's not trying to score debate points. He's trying to score co-eds after the debate. Sir. I think I won that round, Andy. He ain't replying.
I am cut to the quick.
Point to Schultz.
Thank you. Balls in your coat, McEnroe.
I am done, Greg.
Thank you, Andy. Coming up, should posing naked in front of a mirror be considered an Olympic sport? Mike Baker explains why it's not just a hobby anymore. But first, what? Another segment on Charlie Sheen. Why, yes, answers the gorgeous host who clearly can't think of anything else to do.